I'm one of 8 billion people in the world and a gazillion billion organisms and things in the world. So, I'm going to die at some point anyway. So, my thinking of death is it's going to happen to me eventually, at some stage anyway. It's just an absolutely very important part of life. And although I've thought a lot more about it, I've kind of feel like I've always had a very similar feeling about it that obviously we really don't know, but we're either just going to be asleep and don't know anything else from then on, or we are going to go into some place that I like to believe will be full of love. Hello, welcome to You, Me and VAD. This is the offshoot podcast of You, Me and Muscular Dystrophy, and the sister production, You, Me and Rare Diseases. This will be my final podcast where I speak about my journey with voluntary assisted dying, the legal choice for dying with dignity in Australia and in the state of Victoria, Australia. I am being interviewed by my son Jake Watson, and as we explore it's a little bit about what my process has been and what it's meant to me to know my date of death and to have the control in my death with VAD. And I'd like to thank you all for your support, as this will obviously be my final podcast. Take care.
Ma, just some light news for your listeners there. Good riff on the name, You, Me and VAD. It's convenient that all these things rhyme. When did you first consider VAD to be a legitimate option?
I would say it would have been in 2024. I'd been interested in VAD and the whole Dying with Dignity campaign for a few years leading up to then, simply because it just seemed to make sense to have the control over our own bodies, the decision over what level of pain, discomfort, dignity and autonomy we want to live with should be our choice. And and I'm a firm believer in, just because medical technology and people can keep us alive, if that means that there's, if you're not experiencing life still the way it's important to you, then you should have the choice not to do so. So I'd been watching Andrew Denton's podcasts, listening to them, for some time. He recorded them quite a few years ago now. And I really liked that. Anyway, last 18 months or so ago, I don't think my breathing had started getting bad. Or maybe it was a little bit at that stage, but I was getting more pain, pressure sores. I wasn't traveling, going anywhere anymore. It was getting more difficult to even, or the difficulty of going out away even for a night outweighed the joy. I had left the radio. As you know, I was on the radio because of discomfort and my breathing and things. And so I knew nothing was going to get any better. It was only going to get worse, with not just the fact that I've got LGMD, but there's other comorbidities that have come along with that. So I made the decision to start chatting with my GP, who fortunately is a registered VAD general practitioner, and we set the ball rolling there. That's a long-winded answer to.
No, it's the right amount of wind for a decision like this. When you first went through the process of it, did you think that you were definitely going to use it, or was it just more of a backup sort of a thing almost? Did you have, how specific were your designs on using it when you first started going through the process?
I had certain criteria for how I didn't want my life to go. how I would find it unbearable. And although this is my decision made for my peace of mind, my comfort and everything else, it also was very strongly influenced by, like I seriously considered, the impact that it's had on your dad, on Gary, at our choice to be my sole caregiver. And caregiving is extraordinarily emotionally and physically and mentally and financially taxing in every single way. And in my case, when when I can't do anything, it is extremely so. So I kind of thought that it might be in my future, because I also knew that one of my comorbidities, liver cirrhosis, is a terminal condition. My LGMD, limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, is a clinical diagnosis, but not genetically conclusive at all, despite 3 or 4 different tests and studies that I've been under. So we don't even really know what that is. And I've certainly progressed a lot worse and a lot quicker than a lot of other people with genetically diagnosed LGMD. So I sort of, I had it tucked away thinking that I might. And the main reason is I wanted to go out before I had to hit those certain criterias of completely and unutterably untenable situation. And while I could do it as well. So unless it was a miracle cure, probably pretty well thought that I would use it at some stage.
Yeah. And I mean, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people do just seem to live a long time in quite dire circumstances medically, and often not by their own choice by any means. But even though you are enacting your right to die with dignity and exercising your human right to make this decision, I assume that there's also, at least has been, probably some fear involved in it. I mean, death seems to be pretty high on most people's list of fears. Has that been like a major factor for you? Have you considered this to be like a courageous thing that you're doing, or has the fear of death been outweighed by fear of your potential physical decline and worse circumstance of death or something like that? Or how's that played into it?
I have never been scared of actually being dead because, I don't. I think I'm a bit spiritual, but I'm certainly not religious. And we either just go to sleep and never know about it, or there is some kind of loving kind of thing that happens on the other side. So that's never worried me. The fear of, you are right, it's more about the fear of what it will do, how I might die if I just kept rolling along. And it could be as simple as getting a bit of water splashed into my mouth or something in the shower that I can't aspirate from, or I aspirate from, sorry, and can't kind of get my breath, or I could hemorrhage in different areas and things. They're quite likely to happen. So, there's a few other things, but that worries me more. And once again, the impact that it would have on Gary to have to go through that as well, and the impact to you children. It's hard, and now it's getting closer. It's very hard to leave this world and this life that, that I've created with your dad, with Gary, and it has been a beautiful world. And that's kind of what makes it harder to make this step, but also easier in the fact that I'm now of an age where, even though I still feel like I'm too young to do this, I've seen you 3 children have, or at least 2 of you got beautiful partners. And, I've seen you all do really well for yourselves and be, really fabulous adults, great humans, making your way in the world in very interesting ways, and more than anything, kind humans. I've had a fabulous long relationship with your dad, and I've been very lucky to have that. And all my friends that travel, I've done So I truly do feel like I've been blessed, and that makes it also easier and makes me feel like I'm ending my life on the terms that I was living it, and that is in control and with love around me.
Yeah. A lot of people like who have near death experiences and that sort of thing say that it gives them like a different kind of perspective on life. And I know that you're not really in that kind of near death experience as it's usually described, although you are near death. So has being in this, I know you've always been a very appreciative person, like you were just detailing, but has being in this kind of like liminal, close to death time of your life given you a new perspective or a new appreciation or anything like that for life?
Yeah, it does. I feel like there is something about now when I look back on all the memories that I've had with all of you and all the things I've done, I feel like I'm even more appreciative of all those things. Like they seem to have a shinier gloss to them, like a bit more chromatic or something in, when I look back at them. So I do appreciate that. I also am very, very much more aware of love. And I sort of jokingly say that I used to think saying you're blessed, what a blessing, that the word blessed to me always felt a bit old ladyish and too associated with God and religion and things. But I truly, that is the only word I can think of, that I do feel like I've had a blessed life. And I feel that even more strongly now.
Mm, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard said that life has to be lived forward, but it can only be understood backward. And I think that you've always had a really good understanding of the things that are important in life anyway, like friends and family and that sort of thing. But do you feel like there's been any additional like understanding or any kind of like, is there stuff that you look back on now and you think that like you can't believe you took it so seriously at the time? Or is there anything that like not regret so much, but that you wish that you had managed differently or paid attention to differently or anything like that?
You should be a journalist or something, Jake. Everybody here is a journalist. That's a really good question, isn't it? The I guess I do go back over. I think I've always done to a certain extent. Maybe many parents can relate to it, but even things like, just one more day of when your kids are all toddlers, and just really paying attention to everything that you did would be lovely. But then I've got your nephew and niece now to kind of look on that. Well, memories are funny. I wish I could remember everything, I guess, but I don't have major thinkings along those lines, like kind of regrets, that sort of thing. No, I feel like everything I tried, everything we did, I think we did pretty well. We took every opportunity, whether it was work related, moving to courses or books I'd read or, socializing that I do. I think I enjoyed all those decisions, and I think I did everything the way I'd like to.
Suppose that you're dying now younger than you probably once expected to, and that there's probably still things in the world that you would like to do. But do you think that to an extent you would like that to always be the case, whether you died now or in 10 years or 20 years? Do you think that you would kind of always want to have more things to do? Do you, like, I know that you kind of feel resolved, but do you think that a sense of like completion of life is an attainable or even like desirable goal?
I think because this is such a gradual, even though it's been quickly graduating, such a degenerative condition, or my body's in a kind of degenerative free fall. I've had plenty of time to grieve lots of losses of the of the all the activities that and things to look forward to and all the planning that is normally associated with a full, with full health. So while I would like to think in a sliding doors moment when I didn't have any genetic issues, that I would definitely have in me another 20 years of things to do, and learning and studying and things like that. And I've said a few times there's so many great books out there that I still want to read, a lot of which you recommend to me, and other learnings I'd like to do, volunteering. I still wanted to learn Auslan and even teaching English as a second language, like assisting. That was really fun when I did it. I'd like to continue. That would have been nice. So because they're not options for me, I do feel like I've kind of accepted that this is a completion of this life cycle for me. And I've made peace with the fact that, I won't see any other potential grandchildren and, other kind of, there's always going to be other big family things going on. And I've made peace with that as well. So yeah, I think as my body is and as I am, I think mentally I've decided, my life cycle is at a good place now to end, which I feel very fortunate to be able to say that now as well, that this is all happening at this stage in my life, not 30 years ago, because that might be a completely different story on how
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you've like obviously throughout your life, but also in the last like, I don't know, 7 to 10 years as your conditions progressed like much more rapidly, you've continued to do so much stuff at such a quick rate, like from studying to doing radio and then doing this podcast and doing your writing and stuff like that. That I mean, I've kind of thought about this as though as if like, especially when reflecting against some other people that I and we have known who kind of seem to cling on a little bit more, but who don't seem to have had nearly the high of quality of life or like commitment to life that you've had. So it almost seems like, even though it's like maybe a bit more cruel because you have been so passionate and so applied to life, but it also kind of seems to me that it makes it more obvious when it's your time to go, given that you have this decision, like because you've spent so many years giving yourself so fully to a bunch of things. And now you've, like you said, you have those criteria and you can't give yourself necessarily to those things so much anymore, or really at all to a large degree. Do you think that's a reasonable statement, that you've kind of have had such like passionate dedication to life and to trying things and to doing stuff that you now realize that it just makes it much more stark that you can't live the quality of life that you would like to?
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I kind of envisage that without VAD, I would be dwindling away each afternoon, each day, like sleeping or being in bed for longer periods, still not being refreshed at the end of it. And, watching, rubbish on the TV because, I don't have any ability or energy to do anything else. And that's a complete anathema to me. And then with all that would be the constant pain in various ways each day and my breathing. And so that's anathema to me. And I agree. I think that's why it's made it so much easier for me as well. Yeah. So I think since the 60s, really, since ICU came in intensive care units and, the medical profession has made it a real priority to keep us alive at any cost. I like to think now that finally the end of life decision can fall to us as well. Like that same technology or that same maturity, I guess, in thinking, it can help us and is certainly helping me be able to choose to access all that help or choose not to, and to go out on my own terms. So I really am grateful that we're at that stage
Yeah,
to be able to
absolutely.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, those laws came in at a pretty convenient time,
Yeah.
very thankfully.
Yes.
You've told a few friends and family about this now. How have people's reactions been overall?
I've been 100% supported in every way by everyone I love and care about, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm really grateful, and although, they'll miss me to certain degrees, which I am really grateful for as well, and I know that I would miss them the other way around. They've all given me the grace to be, to feel comfortable, even more comfortable in my decision. So I really am very happy that I have been fully supported in every way. And I really wanted to make sure that people understood this is not just about the fact I'm just disabled, so life's not worth living. In Victoria at the moment, you can't get VAD unless you've got a terminal condition anyway. But that on top of the fact we don't really know, even though I could quite easily be dead within 6 to 12 months. I know I'm not going to get any better than I am as far as my disability goes, and I've tried to make the most of my limitations, my physical limitations, and I'm at the age and the stage where I feel like, in the absence of knowing the exact date that, I'll have a terminal breakdown, that this is the best solution for me. Yes. So, and that's for me and maybe for some others, but maybe not for many others.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to kind of make that point.
Mm. Yeah. Have you thought any differently about like the idea or concept of death now that, because it's quite abstract most of the time for most of our lives, but now it's like extremely real for you.
Yeah.
But having said that, you also are in kind of this like surreal position where you day to day, I guess it's still pretty similar to normal life, although you're seeing a few more people at the moment than usual, but a lot of the stuff is quite the same. So yeah, I mean, how does it feel? Have you thought differently about death, or is it strange? Does it feel any surrealism for you for this?
I have thought a lot more about death, and, it's kind of been a subject close to my heart for some time. In fact, when I was still on the radio, I wanted to do or actually even the podcast, wanted to do a series on death and all those sort of angles of it. But I have thought a lot more about it, and I'm kind of almost a little bit looking forward to finding out what it's all about, the other side. And I know, like, I've always started, even when I got LGMD, I started getting symptomatic and got diagnosed. I've always been very aware that I'm one of 8 billion people in the world and a gazillion billion organisms and things in the world. So I'm going to die at some point anyway. So my thinking of death is it's going to happen to me eventually, at some stage anyway. It's just an absolutely very important part of life. And although I've thought a lot more about it, I've kind of feel like I've always had this a very similar feeling about it, that obviously we really don't know, but we're either just going to be asleep and don't know anything else from then on, or we are going to go into some place that I like to believe will be full of love and a nice place to be. Or maybe some great kind of parallel universe sort of type thing. So maybe I'll be having adventures flicking over from the 1800s to the 1600s. I might be a lizard in one life and a rabbi in another. I don't know.
The infinite world's your oyster.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. I think I just wanted to let people know my thoughts and things on voluntary assisted dying. And I do feel like that the people that are left behind, all those that I love dearly and who love me in return, will always carry a piece of me around.
Do you feel that one of the nice things about being able to do VAD is that you get to very deliberately talk to people for the last time and say anything you want to say and all that sort of thing, and really achieve kind of maximum closure for yourself and for the people that you're talking to about it? Do you think that's kind of quite a gift of VAD?
Yes, yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I did want to mention that. And what I was going to add to the My statement before was that I think what it does is the way I like to look at it for those of you left behind that I hurt the most for, like that does make it harder to leave. That's the sticking point for me in many ways, is that it just changes the relationship that you have with me. Like, I'm still there with you. I'm very grateful to be able to do that. It really makes a difference to me to know that I've been able to tell them that I love them. And I know they've been really grateful in return that they've been able to, express their love for me and, being able to reminisce or laugh or cry or whatever we're doing. So that is an absolutely extraordinarily priceless gift that VAD has allowed me to do and have all this time with you kids as well, like to be able to actively plan memory making, like our last lot of memories is pretty superb. Yeah, it's definitely priceless. And I'm very grateful to VAD for that. And to all the people, the really hard work that went into getting this across the line in now all the states in Australia. So that's a really super, incredibly brilliant effort I'll put the links down below, or we will, to Dying with Dignity, the organisation, as well as So Gentle. I think they're the two main organisations. And then you can go through your state government website to find details in your state on voluntary assisted dying.
Well, we're just interrupted for a sec by a very appropriately timed call from Mum's doctor there, talking through some of the logistics. But now I think we're going to wrap up. Mum, if you wanted to share any final thoughts on life, VAD, the universe and everything, etc.
42. No, you didn't ask for answers, did you? Just wanted views.
Just general.
Yeah. Well, it was actually a very well timed, as Jake said, call from my GP, my wonderful, lovely GP. One of my thoughts is that I hope that everyone can find a GP as good as mine, as empathetically understanding as my GP has been, but not only that, she is VAD registered, which is a huge bonus. And just make sure if you're thinking of going down this path, you just want information, then look for a VAD registered GP. That's one of my little bits of advice, I guess. My thoughts on the whole process is that it's just so beautifully done every step of the way. There's checks and balances, right from the first letter from my specialist to there has to be checked by another specialist, and I, get interviewed, and it's got to be approved by the VAD board. And then when the solution gets delivered, if that's your choice, to have it sort of waiting for when you want to use it. Every person has been absolutely beautiful. There's no obligation whatsoever once you have it as well to use it. It's just been a really gentle, beautiful, beautiful process, so much better than the potential and probable outcome if I never chose to do voluntary assisted dying. So that's my main thing to end this on. And hopefully I'll see you on the flip side. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much, Jake.
Thanks, Ma. Love you. See you in one of the multiple universes, or as a 19th century lizard or something like that, whatever you end up being.
Yeah, that'll be ace. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching You, Me, and BAD with Leanne and Jake Watson.